Good morning. Happy Monday. So, I'm here today. Let's talk about the 50-year mortgage because I think there's been a lot of press about it. Trump came out with this idea last week of this 50-year mortgage. And initially, everybody's kind of shying away from it and saying, well, that's horrible. You're going to end up paying all this interest, et cetera, et cetera. Well, let's take a little bit closer look into it and let's think about it from a practical standpoint, I guess. So, initially, when we rolled out the 30-year mortgage, people were like, no, 15-year mortgage, that's what we do. So it's kind of the same thing. People don't like change. If you go back, I don't know, like 10 years-ish maybe, I remember when interest-only loans were all the rage. People were trying to get their payment down as low as they could, and so they were entering into interest-only loans thinking that over time the home is going to appreciate and they don't care if they pay down any of the principal. So it's kind of a similar premise here with this 50-year mortgage. I like it in a lot of ways. I think number one, it's a solution to our current problem of homeownership being out of reach for a lot of people that isn't just doling out money to people, and it does lead to homeownership. Ultimately, if you're renting right now, you are throwing all that money basically into somebody else's pocket. And so even if we do a 50-year mortgage and you're not paying down the principal at as fast of a rate as a 30-year, you're still owning that home. And I think that's the important thing to focus on. The other thing to focus on is you don't have to have a 50-year mortgage, but if it's a tool that allows you to purchase a home right now, it may be a good tool for you, as long as you go in and you compare the options. So let's talk about mortgages in general. I kind of was looking for some data on what percentage of 30-year mortgages actually run all the way till the end. So that person pays that 360th payment. There really wasn't much data on exactly what percentage that is, but there is a bunch of data that indicates that the majority of 30-year mortgages do not run all the way until the 360th payment. Currently, the typical homeowner stays in their home for 11.8 years. Data on refinances actually indicates that borrowers refinance out of their previous mortgage relatively quickly after getting it, depending on just different, life events, etc. The average lifespan of a 30-year mortgage is about 8 years. So either the people sell the house, they refinance, they do something different. Some data suggests that only 1% to 3% of 30-year mortgages actually run until that final payment. So that being said, let's look at this from a practical standpoint of you're buying the house today. This probably isn't going to be the home that you are going to be in 30 or 50 years from now. If we look at the averages, this might be the house that you're in for the next 7 to 10 years. So let's kind of take a look at it from that standpoint a little bit. So I ran some numbers. So we're going to assume a $550,000 purchase price, and you're putting 20% down. So basically your loan amount is $440,000. Now, on a 30-year mortgage at 6%, your principal and interest payment is $2,638. Okay. Now, if we take that to a 50-year, and I'm going under the assumption that the 50-year rate is probably not going to be the same as the 30-year rate. So the 50-year rate, if we compare like 15-year mortgages to 30-year mortgages, there's generally about a half of a point difference. So let's just run numbers at 6.5%. Okay. So for the 50-year mortgage, your principal and interest payment is $2,480 a month. So not a substantial difference, but again, it could make or break it for you if you are trying to qualify to purchase a home. So a couple things to take a look at. With the 30-year mortgage, your total, if you made all 360 payments, the total amount you would pay for that home is $949,688. So $950,000, let's call it that. Okay, with that 50-year, the total amount of payments that you would be making would be $1,488,212. So significantly more, but again, chances are you're not going to be in this house for 30 or 50 years. So let's take a look at it from a 7-year, okay? And I just picked 7 as an arbitrary number, just thinking like over 7 years, a lot of changes can happen in your life. Maybe you need a new job in a different location. Maybe you've had kids, you need a bigger house. Maybe your kids have left for college and you're downsizing. So let's use 7 years. So basically, after 7 years on the 30-year mortgage at 6%, okay, your principal left is $394,413. Okay, so you have paid down your principal by $45,500 roughly. Okay, $45,500. Now, on the 50-year mortgage, your principal left after 7 years is $429,714. So $430,000 roughly. Okay, so you've only paid down your principal by $10,000, $10,285 exactly. So, yes, you made a considerable difference in the amount of principal that you've paid down. But again, it let you get into that house. It let you purchase it. You've been making payments. And then the other factor that we have to consider is, what is that market doing? Okay, so over time, generally, real estate appreciates in value. I mean, we've seen some ups and downs over the years, but if you take a look at a large range of time, generally real estate is appreciating. Okay, so if we take a look at, let me switch my screen here, and we can take a look at, this is basically since 2012. Okay, this is looking at Kalispell, Whitefish, Columbia Falls, and Big Fork. Okay, and we are looking at the median sales prices. Okay, so this is the median sales prices, and we can take a look at, here we are, October of 2025. Okay, Kalispell, 599,000, Whitefish, 1.15 million, Columbia Falls, 640, Big Fork, 922. Okay, so if we take a look at that, okay, and we go back 7 years, so 2018, and we know COVID happened here, so this is skewed. That's okay. We're just looking at it for numbers. So if we go back to October of 2018, we're looking at Kalispell was 287,750, Whitefish was 457, Columbia Falls was 302, and Big Fork was 439.5. Okay, let's look at pre-COVID. Okay, so let's go March of 2020. Okay, and we're going to go back 7 years. So March of 2013. Okay, and we're seeing that prices over those 7 years still appreciated at a pretty darn good rate. Okay, so here we are. Sorry, let me get back to it. March 2020, Kalispell 327, Whitefish 515, Columbia Falls 327.5, and Big Fork 443. And then we go March of 2013. Kalispell 182,950, Whitefish 298, Columbia Falls 166, Big Fork 268. So if you purchased your home in March of 2013 and you kept it for 7 years until March of 2020, okay, you're seeing a pretty significant increase in value anyway. And so did it really matter if you paid down that principal or not, if it allowed you to get into that house? So that's kind of where I'm coming from. So I kind of put a few different things in here. Let's go over. So some benefits to this 50-year mortgage are, we might get lower monthly payments. They may not be significantly lower depending on what that interest rate is, but again, they could be lower enough that it allows you to qualify to purchase that home today. Let's see. It enables buyers who can't purchase homes to be able to buy them. You know, it reduces your debt to income ratio. It makes underwriting easier, and it allows buyers to enter the market now rather than having to wait. It can be helpful for short-term or medium-term ownership. Again, the average time that somebody holds their mortgage is only 7 to 10 years. So if you expect that you're gonna move in a few years or you're gonna refinance, then it might not be a bad thing. Let's see. Basically, inflation works in your favor. So with a fixed rate mortgage, the payment stays the same, whether it's 30 or 50 years, your payment is staying the same. Your income generally increases over time. And then meanwhile, inflation erodes the real value of what you owe. So basically, over decades, your mortgage payment becomes easier to afford. Okay. Cash flow flexibility, it puts a little bit more money in your pocket every month rather than having it go to your mortgage in case, something comes up. You can be putting some money away, hopefully, if that furnace goes out, hot water heater goes out, things like that. And you can always pay it down faster. So, there's nothing that says that just because you have a 50-year mortgage, you have to run it out 50 years. You can make extra payments if you want. You can have them go directly to that principal payment. So I think bottom line is, in my eyes, a 50-year mortgage isn't a bad thing. It's just another option that we have out there as a tool in the toolbox for buyers to hopefully be able to buy a house. There's nothing saying you have to have it. So it's another choice out there. And if it works for you and your financial position right now, it might be a really good thing that allows you to buy a house. If you have any questions or need any advice or just want to talk about the market and the market conditions, I'm always happy to help. Just go ahead and give me a call. Hope you have a great day.